Hello and happy Dingus Day, everybody. So, as I finished cleaning up this morning from Easter weekend, busy making chocolate and cooking and baking and going kind of crazy, I started thinking about, I feel like the holidays make us think about our relatives who have crossed the pearly gates ahead of us and times with them. And I started to wonder about how they would have handled what's going on today, how they would have gotten through with the strange conditions we have. So, anyway, on this week's episode of Cooking with Your Librarian, we're going to talk a little bit nostalgically about Buffalo, especially from the 1970s when I was growing up. And we're also going to cook. And looking in my fridge, thinking about leftovers, what is the perfect thing to make on Dyngas Day is split pea soup. Going to use that ham bone. So come on in. We're going to make some soup. We're going to talk about the olden days in Buffalo, and welcome to my kitchen. So I always like to start my cooking, baking, or whatever adventure I'm going to have in the kitchen by prepping everything ahead of time. If things need to be diced up or cut up or prepared in some way, get all of that ready so that when it's time to mix everything together, you can just do that quickly and not have to be delayed. So I'm going to start by chopping up some extra ham. There will be a lot of ham that will fall off of the ham bone, but I like to put extra ham in. So I'm just going to chop some of this up and add that when I add all the ingredients at the end. Now I'm going to chop up my onion and celery and carrots. I put in all of the celery, even the fringe part. Cut off the funny edges, and I'm going to use 4 carrots because these are not super huge, and I don't peel my carrots. I buy organic carrots and I scrub them down and leave the skin on because that's good for you. I'm going to chop up my onions, start with that. So as I said, I'm going to prep everything ahead of time and put it in bowls so that with the instant. So today, I don't think I mentioned yet, I'm going to make the split pea soup in my Instant Pot, which I'm still learning to use. Really, really love it. I love it that you can, put it all together similarly to a crock pot, and then it's done, quicker than a crock pot. So we're still chopping up the carrots and celery. At this point, I would typically pull out my food processor and use that, but I'm going to skip that step today so that, not everybody has a food processor. So knife works fine. Be careful. Keep your fingers away from the blade. Chop this up real quick. Carrots are a little trickier because they're a little harder, so best to work with sharp utensils. Sharp utensils are safer than dull ones. So I have my celery and carrots and onions chopped up. I have my extra ham chopped up with my ham bone ready. The last thing I want to prepare is my split peas. So it calls for a pound, but that's about 2 cups. I'm going to measure 2 cups out here. I bought this bulk at the co-op, so it's just in a jar here. And then There's all kinds of like weird little things in here. So like there could be little stones or weird things. So I'm going to dump these into a bowl. And I'm just going to kind of pick through and make sure there's no weird little stones or things in here. Sometimes you can't even tell, but, is what it is. These actually look quite lovely. I'm not seeing anything weird. A couple little weird things here. I'm going to pull those out. But overall, this looks like it's just full of peas. Okay. So everything's sauteed nicely. I'm going to add the rest of my ingredients, which will be the peas and the ham bone and the ham. These bay leaves from Penzeys are like ginormous. They're like dinosaur sized. So I'm going to see if I can find 2 smaller ones, but sometimes I'll just put one in. They're so big. And for stock, you can use chicken broth, chicken stock. Difference between broth and stock. Stock is made typically from the bones of the meat when you're looking at a meat stock. And broth is made from that or from the meat. So a lot of times you can use these items interchangeably, but not necessarily so. For split pea soup, it doesn't matter to me. This is what I had in the cupboard. I need 6 cups. I'm going to do 6 cups of chicken and 2 cups of vegetable. Normally I would use one or the other though. And then I'm also going to add in my thyme and some pepper. And again, I'm going to hold off on the salt till later. So because I kept being confused about putting my timer on for the saute portion, it's done. So I'm just going to hit cancel to get that off because I want to add everything else and get the pressure cooking part going. Okay, so everything's in there. I added the other ingredients and I am precariously close to this maximum height. You don't really want to get too close to that, and you definitely don't want to get over that. I don't know what will happen, but you just shouldn't do it. I assure you. Because this thing is under a lot of pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and put my lid on and get going with the pressure cooking portion. All right, hold on. I got to put the phone down for this. Okay, so while our soup is cooking, let's talk about the olden days in Buffalo. A lot of people are ordering groceries and having things delivered these days. And it used to be, when I was growing up in the 70s, we had a lot of things delivered. As a kid, I remember my favorite delivery was the ice cream truck, Mr. Softy. He would come down the street playing his memorable song. You remember it. And we'd all run in our house and grab our piggy bank and shake it upside down and grab 50 cents, which would give you a cone this tall covered with sprinkles. So that's still happening, interestingly enough. Not quite the same, but yeah. And some of you may remember the fruit man would come with produce, with fruits and vegetables, and the housewives would run out of the house and get delicious fresh fruits and vegetables from local farms, and they'd plan their meals around that. And back in the day, the average family rarely ate out. Dinner was on the table every night. First of all, families were so big, mine included. Plethora of children, and it was hard to get out, and people just didn't have the discretionary funds that we seem to have more so today to pay for restaurant food. And the people were home. A lot of women were home. Housewives, mothers, taking care of kids. Now we do it all. But and it was also common to just have one vehicle. And one vehicle, even though you would have many people in the household who could drive. We walked everywhere. We walked to church. We walked to the grocery store. And we had milk delivered by the milkman. That was kind of cool until they had milk machines, vending machines at every corner, and then now those are gone too, and now we all have to go to the grocery store. Although I guess there are still, you can get milk deliveries. So, fast forward to today, and we're unable to leave our homes and trying to stay safe and stay inside, and especially those of us who have family members who have a high vulnerability or a low immunity and things like that, who can become gravely ill. So we're all being, really careful, and we're relying more on delivery services. If you go to the library website, I'm going to post a link to local CSAs on our cooking subject guide page. I'll show you how to get there in a minute. Okay, it's done. It's done letting out all its steam on top here. Still make sure you open it. Let that steam, see that steam still coming out? So I'll pull the lid towards you so you're not getting steam in your face. And let's take a look. Looks like soup. Let's give it a stir. Ooh. Get that. So, try not to drop my phone in here. That would be sad. Yeah, this looks absolutely delicious. It's I like it a little bit thinner, and if you throw this in the fridge, it's gonna firm up. So this looks perfect. I'm gonna sample it and see if it needs a little more salt, and if it does, I'll add it at this point. So that's it. Looks like our soup was a success. I'll pull the extra meat off the bone that I can pull off to add to the stew. But it smells delicious. So I'm going to pull out the bone, obviously, and don't forget to pull out any, what do you call them? Bay leaves. You don't want to eat those bay leaves. Those are not good to eat. So get those out of there too. So hope your soup came out nice too. So these local CSAs, which are CSA is an acronym that stands for Computer Supported Agriculture, and basically that means that food's going directly from the farm to the consumer, to us, to the people, not to the market or something like that. So a lot of CSAs operate by membership. You pay a fee like for the year, for the season, and you get things every week. Other CSAs operate per week. You can buy things per week. That's one that we're using right now that we're enjoying. They're delivering fresh vegetables and fruits and meat each week. And you can skip weeks for some of them, which I like. And then, of course, you can get deliveries directly from the grocery stores through the various apps, some of them through the stores. You can drive up. So there's all these different avenues that we can use to get the foods and things we need, and frequently without leaving the house. But again, back to thinking about the home deliveries of yesterday, it got me thinking about one of Buffalo's more interesting delivery guys, that if you lived in Buffalo in the 70s, you may have seen him or even known him. And I'm talking about Russ the Baker, the singing bread man. So, like his name implies, he was a baker. He was a singing bread man, and he was a delivery guy too, but really different from the others. He used to deliver hot loaves of Italian bread and rolls, and little Italian pizzas, and donuts, and pastries, and cannolis, and his wife's ever popular banana bread from his van. But there was more to it. So he would drive up and down city streets and suburban streets, and he had a cowbell that he would ring. And he had a really great voice, and he would sing Italian arias, but he would change the lyrics around to fit what he was doing. So you take an opera song and change the words to fit. So one that I remember especially was Yah-ho, 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 yah-ho. I've got the bread and need the dough. Get it? Need the dough. Need the dough. Yeah, he was a witty guy. Anyway, this was long before social media and people were changing lyrics to songs to fit the times. So he was a bit of a Renaissance man. So he'd go up and down the streets ringing the bells, and people would come out of their house, and he would sell his goods to them. And in the winter time, or the colder time of year, he would go to bowling alleys. We had so many bowling alleys in Buffalo in the 70s, and before that, a lot of them have closed. There's still quite a few, but there were so many more. And he would show up at the local racetracks, Buffalo Raceway, Batavia Downs, and wait outside as people came out at the end of the night. He would go to many of the local work plants, Bethlehem Steel, Trico, the Trico plants, and other places that are long gone from Buffalo. But he would stay out there when the shift would let out, and all these people would pour out, and boy, they would buy up all those breads and treats, and he'd sing his songs. Anyway, Russ and his wife, Rosalia, passed on many years ago, but I can't help but wonder if they and others from their generation were alive today, how they would have handled this time of the pause. There would have been no pausing for them. Ro, as her family and friends affectionately referred to her, would have been in the kitchen, cooking, baking, and preparing things to share with others. And Russ would have been on the phone, calling people, seeing who needed things. And then he would load up his van with all these things and drive around and ring his bell and sing his songs. And people would come out of their houses. I guess they'd have to stay 6 feet apart at this point. And if you were out of work or down on your luck or without a paycheck and didn't have the money, he would hand the things to you and say, "Pay me next time." He did it so many times before. He would load up his van with all of those goodies and go to local bakeries like Ballesteri Bakery and Famous Donuts, both of whom, by the way, are still in business. Famous Donuts moved from Central Park Plaza, and now they're on Main Street by UB. And Ballesteri's moved from Niagara Street, and they are open now in West Seneca. So you can still get some of these delicious goodies. And he would drive from his North Buffalo home and go to Batavia or Lockport or Hamburg or anywhere. He'd drive for forever. And people would say, "Oh, you're here. Yay, you came." And, I think people would have really appreciated that today. They were selfless people, and I guess that's why they were part of the greatest generation, why they're called the greatest generation. So it's been a long time since that old cowbell rang down the streets of Western New York. And for one, I'm glad that they didn't have to live through this really scary time, because people of that generation already lived through so many scary times. And, they paid their dues and then some. So we'll all have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and, and here they are. I love you, Mom and Dad. Thanks for watching this episode of The Cooking Librarian. Stay safe, stay well, stay home. Looking forward to seeing you again next week with some kind of adventure. Thanks for watching. Oh, and please post your comments about your split pea soup. It's so